Papa Echo, of course, is another interesting aircraft. It was our first Norseman, originally Mike Papa Echo, and of course this is a story that most of you probably know. It was stationed at Moncton, New Brunswick, and just as a quick aside, it was Mike Papa Delta that was sold off. It did extraordinarily well there, and of course at this stage of the game I can just imagine the hue and cry across the country. Send us the airplane, we need the airplane, we want to try the airplane. I mean, I get this nowadays with 40 of the damn things, so I can imagine what it was like with 1 or 2. So it works its way out to Edmonton and up into the Northwest Territories. It does some work there, and then on the way back it has an accident at, I've lost it, I think somebody just said Suluk, and I think that's probably right. It landed and jammed up one of the oleo legs, and it was so badly damaged the only thing they could salvage was the wings. So actually they took the wings, shipped it back to the factory, and rebuilt the aircraft so that you ended up with Mike Papa Foxtrot. Now clearly this is not the way we accepted delivery of the aircraft. Mike Papa Foxtrot then flew with us for 10 years. And subsequent to our disposing of the aircraft, we went through a number of different owners, 8 or 9 of them at least. Ended up flying with Ignace Airways, and this is what happened to it in May 1967. One of the things I forgot to bring tonight, because today's been a rather full day, is actually the front lug, you know, that little piece that sits on the spar that allows you to lift the aircraft, put the floats on, take the wheels off. Paddy Gardner and another member of the Canadian Aviation Historical Society visited this aircraft days, or indeed maybe a couple of weeks after the fire, and they salvaged one of these, the forward lug. And of course it was fire damaged, rusting and all this type of stuff, and a couple of weeks ago at one of our little prayer meetings, he actually gave it to me, which was incredibly generous. And I had it cleaned up and mounted on a little wooden plaque, so I wanted to bring that tonight, but unfortunately I'd forgotten it. I have forgotten it. Just to touch on, and I know this is out of sequence, and I might have moved it around a little bit, but just to touch on a few dragonfly movements. This is courtesy of some of the work that Terry Judge has done, researching some of the RCAF station activity. We'll just touch on Toronto on August 1940. DH-90 Mike Papa Alpha arrived DH factory from Ottawa for airframe check. Here's one Camp Borden and Trenton. Dragon Mike Papa Charlie, Staff Sergeant Fraser, RCMP, with, here's a couple of names for you, P. Garrett. And Phillips arrived from Toronto at Trenton at 13:20, left for Toronto 1800, Sports Day visitors. See how well the taxpayer would accept Sports Day visitors' use of aircraft today. Another one, Dragonfly Mike Papa Delta, El Capriol, arrived from Montreal at Trenton, 1200 hours, left from Montreal at 1650. Here's 2 more quick movements in Ottawa. 1906-37, Dragonfly Mike Papa Alpha, Corporal Barnes, arrived from Toronto at Ottawa at 1305, left for Vancouver with Sir James McBrien at 1440. Another name here, you'll hear in a moment. 11 November 1935, Dragonfly, Mike Papa Charlie, Fraser, Mickelson, Sergeant Duboc, the chap that went overseas and didn't make it back. As I touched on earlier, during the war, the Dragonflies were absorbed by the RCAF, used as twin-engine trainers, which left us with then Mike Papa Foxtrot, and that's basically the only aircraft we had. Story goes that it flew up and down the Hudson Bay coast and around the north, and any time it found a fuel cache, it destroyed it, which I can really imagine would really annoy the people that left it there when we were relying on it. But anyway, that's the story that happened there. So in due course, Mike Papa Echo, which morphed into Mike Papa Foxtrot, was replaced by this time by Mike Papa Lima, our other Norseman. And you can just imagine the glee with which the fellows got rid of Mike Papa Foxtrot. I mean, it's old, it's clapped out, it's been well used, it's 10 years old, and now we've got this new one. So this is great. This is another shot, and it's really interesting how you have this vision, and this is just a little sidebar, not remotely relevant to the story, that most of us, when we see an aircraft, get these damn people out of the way. And then you come across a gem like this, and this is the wedding party for Corporal Peter Valentine and his good wife in 1956. And if I've got the rest of the details here correctly, this is in the Northwest Territories, and I think they're on the way to, sorry, look at the page, they're on their way to Fort Providence. I can only imagine what Mrs. Ballantyne thought when she went into
honeymoon capital.
the honeymoon capital. I can only imagine what she thought when she went into Fort Providence in 1956. But it's very much the mood shot. I mean, look at the guys are all dressed up. The ladies are dressed to the nines. High heels on the dock, and there's Mike Papa Lima about to move them into their new posting.
Wasn't it tough flying with your spurs on?
I can imagine.
I think they needed an ejection seat there.
Is this the half-a-mile job?
I doubt it, but especially in a Norseman. So this is 1946, and the importance here is that before we were the air section, now we've morphed into the air division. Another quick little aside, while I am in charge of the RCMP Air Services, I have the dotted line. I am the policy center. I am the cajole and persuade. All the resources are the solid black line, and they belong to the divisions. So you've got that constant balancing act as to what the division's expectations will be of their air crew versus what the policy center feels and the holder of the permit, which of course, or the operating certificate, which of course is me. So that's a constant balancing act. This is the Grumman Goose, world famous aircraft. I mean, it's sitting across here in the other hangar. Flew with us for what, 47 years or something like that. Literally a mobile detachment. I have bumped into any number, some serving, mostly current members that well remember working with this aircraft all over Canada with a flying detachment. Have the desk sit down, interview people, interview suspects, carry prisoners, carry dead bodies, carry the court party. This aircraft did it all. And this is Inspector Reed refueling the aircraft at Dekok, as the caption says, on the 13th of August 1957. Interestingly enough, Bill Reed is one of our staff sergeants, and he's one of our pilots here in Ottawa. And this Inspector Reed was his father. So they've got something like 60 years of flying altogether with the RCMP Air Services. It's quite. This is the same aircraft, Mike Papa Golf, in the overall hangar. This is actually when we were, if memory serves, when we were co-located with Transport Canada. Got a wonderful series of about 25 photographs, which one of my colleagues dug out of his bottom drawer and has moved on to me of the various stages of this overhaul, right down to the nuts and bolts, as you can see, and then put it all back together again. This, of course, is MPI, and the Expeditors, we actually ended up with 5 of these aircraft. 3 of them were ex-RCAF aircraft, which were refurbished. We bought 2 of them brand new, MPH and MPI. This is clearly MPI that you can see here. Unfortunately, I have no idea as to the date and location. This is Mike Papa Hotel. I'll touch later on some of the surviving RCMP aircraft. This aircraft right now sits at the RCMP Museum in Regina. Can anyone help with the location of this? This is from a selfish perspective. I'd like to know where the heck it was taken. So just cast your mind back, think about the background there, where it might be, and maybe just share your thoughts with me afterwards. I'd really appreciate it.
Could this be at Cartierville, looking southeast toward where Canadair is now?
Yeah, other thoughts? I heard something here.
I think that's Rockcliffe in the background, and I think that's the Mountie hangar, the taxiway that went from the Mountie hangar over to the airfield.
Okay.
I'm not sure about that tower.
Okay, well, this is great. I'm going to learn something tonight, but I will keep moving with regret. Another really good shot of Mike Papa, India. This is the brand new MPH and MPI, leaving Kansas on their way to Ottawa in March 1946.
The logo on the nose of the aircraft, is that a fused MP?
Yes, it is. It's exactly the same MP that you'll see on the back end of the horses, where we don't go that close, but when we just brush against the nap, that MP.
Yeah.